There's the feller. Man of the hour. Jay Chili. Oh, we got us a little chart.
Yes, sir.
He's also got our YouTube channel pegged at the bottom there, fellers, where we will be uploading these recorded episodes and so on and so forth here in the future. So you can find us there at Chicken Chatter 247. You'll see the logo here, just like in my background, whatnot. You'll see our logo, everything. That'll be our page. That is the page. Do I think all bloodlines have similar traits like sweaters? Are all sweaters fast? Does that make sense? I gave my opinion on that earlier. Jay Chili, why don't you field that question before we kick off tonight's topic? Do you think all bloodlines are similar, like sweaters, for example? Do you think all sweaters are fast?
No, absolutely not. It's all about how the breeder, what they breed for, and what they choose.
I agree. I agree 1,000%. I mean, quite literally. You know, you're talking about selection and the criteria and everything of that nature. So yeah, in the future, we can get them from the same foundation, right? We can go to the same breeder, and in literally like 3 generations, we can make some big changes. So in 10 years, changes could be extremely significant. They came from the same foundation, but we take them in different directions as breeders. And that is the power of artificial selection.
You guys bear with me. I'm literally in my garage right now, so that's why the you can see. That's why the wall is not. Everything's a little dusty in here. This is where I keep my feed too.
Real life. 'Tis real life.
This is. That's what makes it so fun. All right, I'm gonna go grab a drink. We'll let a few people get in here, and then we can kick it off whenever.
Perfect. Perfect.
There we go.
So Mr. Chili's going to grab himself a little something to drink. And then we will get into the nitty gritty of our topic here tonight on Chicken Chatter, bench work or rotation. We'll see which way you fellers lean. And then Chili and I will get into our opinions on the subjects and so on. And we're going to have a good time with this. It's going to be a fun topic. And I think it'll be good to hear from the chat. We'll have some interaction. We'll bring a couple of guests in probably just to speak their point of view. We are trying to run this in a format, guys. It's a 2-hour show, and we're trying to stick to that format. So if we do bring you in as a guest, please respect your time limits so we can, get things done in an orderly fashion and move things along, very simplistically. So we like involving you guys. We want you guys to participate and all that stuff. So just asking that you help us out a little bit. Help us out a little bit. This is not my gray. I appreciate it. It is a nice looking gray, but it's not mine. I snapped this picture from TikTok because I thought it would go well with tonight's topic. It makes for a decent little, not really background. We're going to say downground. Background, downground, whatever. What's up there, Daniel? How you doing? We got 54 viewers in here. Tap that like button, guys. We appreciate you. We appreciate the support. We're experiencing a little connectivity issue. That's okay, because we're right back. That does happen from time to time. Rotation, in my opinion, that's all you need, but most of it falls down on how you take care of your birds all year around. I would agree very wholeheartedly, and I know Chili would too, that the effort you put into your birds every day all year makes a substantial difference on Destiny Day. Fred says both. Mr. David Lamb, the point man, said both as well. There were other gentlemen in the beginning that said both. Daniel VGVO was saying that he was a rotator. Fred said his mentor did both.
I will be there for one last thing, and we'll start taking notes.
10-4. Ricky Kahn says he does both. Wicked P Farms, absolutely both. There's going to be a lot of boths tonight. Going to be a lot of boths. And, you know, I think most of us are probably going to be on the team of both. But we're probably going to lean harder one way or the other. So, let's be honest, fellers. We'll be honest. Do you lose gameness on line breeding or inbreeding? Did Ratliff lose gameness when he was dominating competition and line breeding fowl for like 3 decades? Brother sister inbreeding, he preached that in his method. I mean, no, you don't lose gameness from inbreeding. You lose gameness from poor selection. Just like you lose a lot of other qualities and traits. You lose traits by poor selection and poor breeding. That's God's honest truth.
That's where single mating comes into play, guys. If you have a family long enough, it's you're going to have a hen throw something bad, whether it be gameness. Back in the legal days, I'll say it like this: when we were breeding, those who maintained game fowl, if you had some that got a little low-headed, dunked, bill-holded, anything like that, a lot of that stuff got bred on because you're throwing 6 or 7 pullets or hens in a cage with a cock, and then you're breeding it. You don't know what hen's throwing what, okay? So that's where single mating comes into play. You're like, well, because I guarantee you, if your chickens have been good for a long period of time, if you're doing your foot marking like you should, most of the time, if they start doing something weird that you've not seen before, they'll have the same foot marking and they'll go back to that same pair, to that same hen. We've all seen it happen. We've all had brothers and we're like, man, they're doing this. You check them. You bred a pair you've not bred, a hen you've not bred, trace it back to the mommy, she's throwing something weird. And you just can't do that when you flock mate. If you flock mate, you'll literally have to take another year and then single mate everything that was in there just to find out which hen done it. And then that's just a whole mess. So I really, and me and John will talk later about a good way to single mate and flock mate at the same time. It's kind of a very interesting thing he brought to my attention. But yeah, guys, just stay on top of your breeding and stay on top of your marking and know what's throwing what.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's, again, it goes back to the practice of breeding and then selective criteria, right? You have to, test your fowl for your characteristics and abilities and traits and this, that, and the other you're looking to preserve, right? Whether it be physical characteristics, whether it be genetic characteristics, performance-related characteristics, things of that nature. Everything just about is broken down on a genetic level. And so you have to look for those qualities and traits. You have to do the things necessary to ensure that you are maintaining those qualities and traits. And yes, that's exactly why Jay Chili was saying that we single mate, so we can track that lineage. Should there be an issue, we can back up a step or two and figure out what's what and move on, in a better direction.
For example, so I breed spangled hatches. I breed the Bill Bumgardner stuff. So I bred a hen this year that I've not bred before. And she threw a lot of her. I didn't use a lot of her offspring. She was throwing chickens that were just their station, and I'm not talking about their leg length. Their leg position was more towards their butt. So their legs was more towards the back end. So here's their tail. Their legs were more towards their hind end, and they kind of stood like a duck. And I didn't like that. And if I had flock mated, I wouldn't have known that. So she's not going to be. Everything was the same about them, attitudes, everything. But I did not like the way she threw some of her stags and pullets. So yeah, you just gotta stay on top of that stuff, guys.
Yes, we do. Yeah, you gotta be on top. You gotta be on your A game. That's part of the effort that it takes to maintain families and move forward, and to make your bloodlines better, to perpetuate the qualities and the traits that you want out of your birds. The power of artificial selection falls both ways. Artificial selection can be the best thing that ever happened to your yard, or it could be the worst. It's really up to you. David Lamb said, you won't have too much trouble if you got proven hens. That is part of the equation. And the only way you prove a hen is by her offspring. So that's why we single mate.
John, is that helping any? I can't see from here.
That does. That does help. So go ahead and outline those a little bit. Yes, sir, Chris. Artificial selection. That's what we're practicing as breeders. Because natural selection would be to let the birds, roam around freely and not have us get involved, and they would select their own mates and have their offspring and cull themselves and so on and so forth throughout the course of nature. That is natural selection, and throughout multiple generations, things would go in a certain direction. As breeders, we pair birds ourselves, and so we don't let nature take its course. That's artificial selection. That's how it works. Guys, we appreciate the guest requests, but just hold off for the time being. Like I said, we're going to lay out some ground rules and whatnot. We'll have a few guests come in and give us, your opinions on table work and rotation. Whether you prefer both or whether you prefer one or the other. If you prefer both, elaborate a little bit, guys, because we know, like I said, we're probably going to lean more one side or the other. I think a lot of folks are going to say that both is essential, and that's totally fine. Like earlier, scroll back up and see it. Hard Knocks Game Farm said 90% rotation and 10% bench. So he's a both guy, but he leans really hard to rotation.
So just hold off on your opinions. John, when are you ready to start taking tallies of this?
Oh, you can start taking tallies right now. Let's see.
All right, guys, clean slate. Clean slate. So you've already gave your answer. Start all over. We're starting from here on out. So you prefer bench, both, or table work?
No. Fred's a both.
Hold on.
You're good.
John, why did you stop?
I didn't see it till now. It's good. Just leave the table up there and just put rotation above it.
I'm a perfectionist.
You can't do that. You're going to start taking tallies now.
All right.
Excuse me, I got a little bit of a cough. All right. We're going to make it work. It's okay.
All right, so where is rotation going to be?
On the table side, because bench is nicely spelled out and you started to scribble out table. So that's going to be our rotation. That'll work. Beautiful. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for both.
Five for both.
5 for both so far. Let's get a little more interaction out of the chat, guys. What do you prefer? We got 1 for table work. Hard Knocks Game Farm did say both. Tristan says both. although he leans hard to rotation. Captain Corey Crane says table work. Beamer says rotation. Early Bird says both. Ronald Seymour, both. Around here's both. Coralito says rotation. Adrian Garcia says he's bigger on table work, but he does both.
Ooh, what do I hit for that one? He said bench first, but I guess both.
Yeah, it's a both. A lot of the both guys are going to lean really hard one way or another. 2 more for both, Mr. Lynn Meeks and Sam H. Hard Knock says it depends on the type of foul that you are working with. I agree. But for the sake of the show and for the sake of the interaction, we're just going to kind of keep it to what you do, more or less yourself, more often than not. Let's keep it that way. Mr. Jeff said rotation. And Pookie Bates said rotation because you can't make a rooster strong. It comes from the brood pen and everyday care. There's definitely a lot of truth to that. There's 44 people in here, guys. It looks like we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 17-ish answers. Anybody else you want to weigh in? Do you prefer bench work? Do you prefer rotation? Or are you kind of split with both? I mean, there's a lot of guys going to be both, but you're going to lean hard one way or the other. That's for sure. And then here shortly, guys, what we're going to do is we'll open the door here and we'll allow a couple of guests to come in one at a time. And we'll give you, what do you think there, Mr. Chili? 3 minutes? 3 minutes just to kind of speak on your opinion. 3 minutes sound good?
Sounds good to me, brother.
Perfect. For the sake of streamlining things, guys, for the sake of moving things along, we ask you to please adhere to your time constraints so we can give people a chance to come in and whatnot and keep the show moving. Because like I said, we got 2 hours to do this. We do have, regular lives and, got to move forward with things. So if you do come in as a guest, please respect your 3-minute time limit. Give us your opinions. Let us know what you do, what you think, which direction you lean and why. And we'd love to hear from you. Choctaw says rotation. Hang on, Triple C, hang on. We'll take guests here shortly. Very shortly. You can be the first one. If you're up for it. Some people hit the guest button by accident.
Guys, keep in mind our YouTube channel that's to be uploaded on our YouTube channel. It is Chicken Chatter 247.
That is correct. This episode is being recorded and will be uploaded on our YouTube channel, with all the other previous episodes and a couple of short clips. You hit it by accident, but yeah, if you're fine with it, that's fine. You can come in. If you don't want to, that's okay too. But yeah, we'll get to it very shortly. Eric Hensley said fly pins, light bench work, weather permitting. Last week, no scratching, less work, tie cord. So he's more of both. Mr. Hensley's kind of a both guy. Seems like he might lean towards rotation a little more.
How many was both right there?
2. Well, 1 for both, 1 for rotation. There's a lot of Charlie fans out there. Old Charlie Carr.
Dude, so we're getting... I knew both. I would have bet my last nickel that both would have taken over, but I figured there would be a little bit more people than 2 people thus far that's strictly bench, because I know personally a lot of guys that's all bench.
Yeah. I mean, there's even, guys that have released their keep, so to speak, from the past and closer to the present where they don't do much. They do a lot on the bench.
Yeah, they might throw them in a fly pen and feed them and leave them there, but they're working on the bench.
Game Foul said bench. There's another one for the bench.
Okay.
Fred says 2 weeks in the fly pens and tie cords, 2 weeks on the bench, and 1 week to rest. So he really is split to like both.
Have we taken his thing yet?
Yes, he was one of the early ones that said both. Danny Childers said both, but less bench, move every 2 hours. So he's a hardcore rotational guy.
Okay.
Hard Knock says he's done one, he's done the other. He does what works for his foul. Well, that's understandable. Absolutely.
Yeah, those McQueens I got, they will absolutely rebel on the bench. They will not let you bench work them at all. They're really calm-natured, I've noticed. So you would think that they'd be cool with it, but they can only put up with so much. And once they kind of rebel from you, there's no going back. So they have to be rotated. But some of those Bennett's I got, I ain't gonna lie, they can be a little bit sorry, as in lazy. And a lot of times, most of them will rotate just fine, but you get a few every now and then that's just, they don't want to do much of nothing, and they're good roosters, but I have to bench work those. And they turn out just as good. A lot of people say, oh, I'd call them this and that. No, I do their working on the bench, and they won't disappoint, you know. So, I don't know. I'm a both guy, but I'm not recording. Well, we can record ours, John, if you want to.
Oh, absolutely. We can weigh in. The Game Foul said most people don't even know how to bench work a rooster.
I'm a both man.
I would also be in the category of both. I believe the bench has a specific purpose.
I think you're muted, bro.
I am. Excuse me for that. I believe that I'm a both guy as well. I believe the bench has a specific purpose, and then rotation has its place.
I agree. But I know a lot of guys, more than not, so this is exactly how I predicted it to go thus far. I know a lot of guys, they're strictly rotation. They don't own a bench, and they do really well. So it all depends, but I believe there's a place for both.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. So what do you say we bring our first guest in to see where someone in the chat lies? If you're a both guy, please just explain a little bit, you know, which side you kind of lean to more, and just give us you don't have to divulge any secrets or go into anything. Remember, guys, you got a 3-minute time limit, so just kind of give us a general outline, a general idea on what you prefer and why you like doing what you're doing. So who wants to be up first? Triple C earlier had agreed that he would be first, if need be. He hit the request button by accident. Bring me in, he says.
Good afternoon, boss man.
How you doing, sir?
So, I'm more in the rotational side on the, debate. Firm believer in pure rotation. I'm a both guy. I put them on the board whenever, I flip them on their bat, so they can learn to get up, if you know what I mean.
You do some reflex exercises.
Yeah, I mean that's really all I do. I'm 95% rotation, 5% on the board. But tie toward your best friend, fly pins. I ain't telling no secrets like you said, but it all falls down on how you feed, maintain protein, what you feed, etc. How fat you keep them all year round, so you don't have to table work them. You can go I do 7 foot in a fly pen, drop them down a week, 4 foot, and then put them on a tie tour. Scratch them every once in a while. Table work is necessarily, for some birds, like Chili said earlier. Occasionally I do have a few birds that are just lazy in a fly pen, doesn't do much. And you gotta table work them then.
Yeah, I agree.
But rotation, in my opinion, is key, and how you keep your birds. What else? Any questions you can ask? I'm trying to blank mine right now. Be honest with you.
No problem. I mean, I think
I agree with that, though. I agree with everything you said, pretty much. It's just some birds, they'll be so lazy. I don't know, but if a man's had chickens a long time, some birds, you'll throw feed in their scratch pen or whatever, and they'll pick the feet off. They may scratch once or twice, and they'll just stand there on the straw and stare all day, Or in the fly pens, instead of getting down there and digging, they'll just flap on the roost and just hang out all day. So there's a place for both of them, in my opinion. I think that's what you were saying as well.
Yeah, I agree. You can have your fly pen set up a certain way where they can see each other. Hell, they'll jump up and down 400 or 500 times a day, without, and table work, in my opinion, you can do more is less, and, what I was told and what I believe in. You can hurt a bird on the table and you don't even realize it.
Right.
And, less is more over time, being able to work with a bird, rotation, building them up where he needs to be.
yes, sir.
Just my opinion. That's just my opinion on it. I'll let other people didn't hear and that's how I feel.
We appreciate you. I think it was a great explanation, and I think you hit all your key points, and it was a very good way to start off.
Yes, sir. Well, y'all take care, and thank you for having me in here.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Triple C game foul. I had saw Mr. Gilbo Bates was requesting to come in here. If that was an accident, that's okay. If not, sir, would you like to be the next guest and give us a general rundown of what you like to do? There he is. Give him the big screen.
How's it going, fellas?
Pretty good. How you doing, sir?
Buddy?
I'm doing good. My preference on the rotation and bench work is I look at chickens how I look at people,
Do you want it?
You take me and somebody else for an example. You get me on like if me and two men went to the gym, I may be able to do, like 50 push-ups, and another one may be able to do 100 before it ever bothers him. And now I do a little bit on the bench, but it ain't no more than flying a rooster. And it ain't much. I just fly them around a little bit and rub them down. And to me, a bench ain't no more than to get them used to you handling them and fooling with them. And that's like a lot of people, a fly pen, they think they got to have a roost 10 foot tall and this, that, and the other. To me, I think a roost no higher than 5 foot tall is plenty tall enough. If you take a rooster in cold weather and you put it in a fly pen with that roost 10 foot tall, it's just gonna fly up there and sit there all day long. But if you got a short roost, they'll fly up and down and they'll work themselves. But now if you got a real high roost, once they fly up there, they're not coming back down if it's cold. I mean, in my opinion, everybody got their own opinions of everything, but I like
Mom.
the rotation works better. You know, you go from fly pin to cord to scratch pins or whatever. You know, but that's just my 2 cents worth. It probably ain't worth much, but that's my 2 cents worth of it anyway.
We wasn't asking for right answers or wrong answers. We were just asking folks for their answers.
That's exactly right. I mean, that's what the chicken chatter's for, you know.
That's right. That's right. So it was a perfect answer as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, that's as perfect as I think it is, but
Yes, sir. Do you have any questions or anything you would like Mr. Bates to elaborate on there, Mr. Chili?
No, that's a good point though. So it's something, as chicken chatter hosts, we try to just give everybody their opinion. But I do agree with that. I think if your roost is too high, that rooster is going to fly up there and he's just going to kind of look around and chill out. He don't feel like jumping on and off of that all day. But if you put your roost 4 foot off the ground, 5 foot off the ground, he's going to hit that sucker on and off all day. He's just going to look up, jump down. And like the last guest said, I can't see the screen from where I'm sitting, but just like he said, if you got your fly pins set up right to where they can see each other, or you got a pullet or a hen hanging up somewhere where they can see it, or you set up your fly pins. I didn't do that, but I've seen a lot of people set up their fly pins to where there's a pullet or a hen between them, or anything like that, guys. They'll hit that roost all day. But I've seen guys I've seen actual people put 10 foot in person. They took dog kennels and set them up to where the roost was literally 10 foot high. And I said, man. And it was 11 foot, believe it or not. And I said, man, once them roosters hit that roost pole, it's over. They're going to stay up there. And once they fly down, they're liable to get a stone bruise or bumblefoot or anything. So that's just my 2 cents on it. So I think Gilbo hit some good points there.
yes, sir.
Yes, indeed. I agree. I do especially agree with roost pole height. That's a preference thing of mine as well. So if you're going to put them higher, you've got to really do your homework and get that bedding, very soft. They got to have enough area to fly down. Like, you don't want the pin too shallow, and your bedding is going to have to be pretty thick and pretty soft. I mean, anything above 5 feet on most types of ground and terrain, you're going to start doing damage to the legs. I mean, that's a common fact. So.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's a fact.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We appreciate you very much there, Mr. Bates. We thank you for coming in and sharing your opinion.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
Yes, indeed. You hang around in the
I
chat.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir. We'll find the next guest.
All right.
Appreciate you.
All righty, fellers. Who's going to be the next guest? HB221. Looks like you had requested. Are you willing to be next in line? Mr. Fred says he likes his poles about 8 foot high. Hard Knock says no higher than 6 foot. HB221. I'm going to let Mr. Brandon Whalen in here.
How's it going, guys?
Very well, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I rotate and table work. I mean, the table work's mainly just for the handling and try to build cardio, and the rotating is just to try to keep them loose and build a little bit of muscle or whatever. But main thing, your brood pen's where your strength comes from. So that's kind of like how I think about it, anyway.
Yep.
I would agree. We do minor setbacks, not really damage, right? Some of us are doing permanent damage by the way that we house and keep our fowl, but that's not most of us. Most of us are smart enough and we do things in a correct manner, so we're not hurting them. We are hindering them a little bit. We have to confine them for their own safety and their own well-being because of their aggressive nature. And so we have to do our best to try to undo the things that we have done to them by confining them. So yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of your performance, a lot of your power, and things like that, that comes from the brood pen. I agree with that 100%. What do you think there, Jay Chili?
I agree with that. I think a lot of it does. Well, most of it does come. Not even most. I'd say 90% of it does come from the brood pen. And like you said, when you pin them when they game up, you're just trying to undo that damage because they get fat, they lose muscle tone, things like that. So you're just trying to undo all of that when you're building them back up. So um, the purpose of the keep, to me, is not to build. Um, you know, is not to give strength to the bird, but it's just to get the bird to genetically where he could have been anyway. You're not going to add much more to that bird than what was given to him naturally through his parents and his genetics. You're not going to, okay?
Yeah, you're just trying to replicate them naturally being out in the wild is what my goal is, which you're never going to get that 100% unless you had a walk with a bunch of birds you could go and pull from, but that's not really feasible in this day and age. So
Right, I agree with that 100%. So yeah, so we're just trying to get them to where they should be. And like Brandon was saying, if you got them on a walk, guys, I don't know if anybody's got to walk them before, but if you ever get to farm walk one, and that's just you could go to a friend's house that lives out somewhere. It doesn't matter, and throw out a rooster, maybe a couple pullets, guys. Go pick them up in a month, 2 months, whatever, 3 months. You'll never put your hands on a better feeling rooster, better acting rooster. It's just so we're trying to replicate that. I agree with that.
and another thing before I go, pre-keep. I mean, try to pre-keep your birds so that way they're already endured that stress through the keep. Whenever the keep comes around, you kind of know how they're going to act, and you can kind of pick and choose and feather out the weak ones.
Right.
That's a very good, smart piece of advice. I don't know if your pre-keep's a week, 2 weeks, whatever, but that stress of being put up into the rest stalls and then moved onto the bench and a lot of hands on this, that, and the other. Not every bird reacts the same way, and some of them are just not mentally stable enough for that kind of environment. So it does help us to weed out the ones that we think are going to be best, and gives us a little more time, and we're not set into panic mode. We try to select 7 for a 5 that we're going to put up, and we don't do a pre-keep. Next thing we know, we've only got 3 that we really, really think we can go forward with, and we're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I appreciate your guys' time, man. You'll have a good day.
Yes, sir. You do the same. Thank you very much. Mr. Gilbub Bates said the pre-keep is 365 days a year for him. That makes sense. That makes sense. It is good to give it a little time and get a little hands-on with them.
Banshee, do we have any other votes in the comments for venture rotation? I haven't been keeping up. I can't see the comments.
I haven't seen any. Guys been discussing a couple of the guest comments, this, that, and the other. We were discussing some roost pole heights and things. I haven't seen any other votes for, bench work or rotation. And I haven't seen anyone else saying, that they are both, one way or the other.
So, guys, if you haven't casted your vote, let us know what you think, guys. If you already have, it's tallied up there. So if there's anybody else, let us know, and we'll just kind of keep track through the remainder of this episode. We'll just kind of keep putting up here what anybody thinks. So everybody's welcome to give their opinion, cast their vote, and jump in and explain why they feel that way.
Yes, sir. Gilbo said he's more of a rotation guy. I can't remember if he voted earlier or not. But that's another feller for rotation.
Rotation.
CCS Precise Concrete. Let's see if this guest would like to give their opinion on bench work or table work? Mr. CCS, Precise Concrete, you are on. I think it was an accidental request. Accidental request. Oh, it happens. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Daniel Castillo says he is a both. Any more guests? Guys, are there any more folks that are willing to come in, give their opinion on their preference? Their preference.
Guys, while I'm down here, follow our YouTube channel. All the episodes are up, are uploaded on there. So if you missed an episode, just go check it out. Chicken Chatter 24/7. This episode will be on there as well with the rest of them and the prior ones that we've done. So check out our YouTube channel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You will see our Chicken Chatter logo just like right here. Several of the past episodes that we have done uploaded there, as well as this one, which is also being recorded. We appreciate the interaction. We appreciate the likes and everything, guys. Who else would want to come in as a guest and explain their preferences and what they like to do? Hard Knock says his rotation moves every 3 moves in 1 hour, and others every 2 hours, some twice a day or 3 times a day. Pookie Bates. Let's see. Pookie Bates, you've got the big screen.
How you fellas doing?
Very
I'm
well.
doing good. How about y'all?
Very well.
I'm more of a
sir.
rotation guy because the bench, you hurt your rooster more than you help him, y'all. Because, you got some that might be able to do, 10 runs. Some might be able to do 20 runs. You make him too stiff, so you might like to scratch him, rotate him. Then the bench is just more to calm them down. Your brew pen where your power and stuff comes from, then your caretaking. You got to take care of them 365 days a year.
Hands down agreed with the taking care. Absolutely. And the attributes coming from the brood pen. I mean, for sure. Definitely behind both of those statements.
And then, now, which, it's just a preference on whatever works best for you. You got to find what works for you and go with it.
That is very true. Absolutely. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all thing, right? Because not only do we not have the same fowl, but most of us are in different areas of the country, and sometimes those gentlemen travel to areas that are not even the same climate as their own. So there's a lot of things that they're having to deal with, and it's not just as simple as, hey, work him a bit, exercise him, throw him in a box, and hope for the best.
No, but there's a whole lot of factors that you have to take in.
Yes, sir. So it is certainly all about what works for you. That's going to be a theme tonight, I do believe.
Oh, yeah.
And true as the sky is blue.
That is true. I agree. Every breed, every bloodline's different. They all react different. And that just comes with knowing your birds. You know what I mean? You got to know your bloodlines. You got to work with them, give them time, and you'll see what works for them. I'm sure there's plenty of bloodlines that do better rotating, and there's probably plenty of bloodlines that you need to bench work more. So it's all about those, knowing your families, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Like I said, you bench, it's like I said, it's a good place to get your rooster calmed down, get him used to being handled, being fooled with. But now, to me, you do more harm than good.
That's certainly a possibility. Something I'm sure I'm not the only guy who's ever heard this, and I'm sure, this is not the first time people in the chat and whatnot are going to hear this either. My mentor had told me, I don't know how many times, more good roosters been ruined on a bench than it ever was.
Exactly.
So I think that goes with, lack of understanding and,
It does.
time.
It's not as much as the benches destroy them as it is doing it wrong is destroying them. And a lot of guys overdo it and they just get them stiff, they get them tight, and then they wonder, back in the legal sense, during competition days, they would wonder why they can't put W's up because they'd say, oh, he was too tight, he was too stiff, this or that. Well, that comes a lot from working them too much or when you rotate them, I believe they get themselves right. They kind of know what they need to do. But I'm just against doing bench work wrong, if that makes sense.
It does.
Certainly, I think that's more or less what the phrase gets at. I don't think anybody was ever hinting, including my late mentor as it was, that the bench will ruin them. It's the individual that doesn't know what he's doing.
That's what I'm clarifying. Yeah, it's doing it wrong. It's not knowing what you're doing. A rooster won't destroy himself a lot of times if he's rotating, you're moving them when you should. It's going to be hard for him to overdo it a lot of times if you're doing it right. But what I'm getting at is it's really easy to mess them up on that bench if you don't know what you're doing. It's easier than what you think.
Yes, sir. Makes sense. Mr. Bates, we certainly appreciate you coming in, being a guest, and giving us your opinion and, why you like to do things your way.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. You have yourself a good evening.
Y'all do.
Yeah, with that being said, I've seen people put them in a run pen and leave them in there too long, dude, and they'll put a rooster. If that's part of your rotation, a lot of people don't use run pens, but I've seen them leave them in there for so long, dude, they'd run their body off. I mean, they just let them run for so much time, and I'm like, man, so you got to find that balance and whatever works for you.
Yes, you do. You absolutely do. And balance is key, not in just this aspect, but multiple aspects of life.
Let's see, Chicken Lee.
Anybody else? We got one or two more. Want to come in? Give your opinion?
No. Most don't rest enough. That's a great point.
Very
a lot
good
of people.
point.
That's a lot of it. So even if you do mess up on the bench, if you give a rooster enough rest and enough time to stretch out and just be himself, maybe put him on cords for a while, he'll loosen back up. But rest is a very, very key, a very important thing that's overlooked because you're not building muscle when you're working. You're breaking down muscle. The building process comes with rest. So when you or I are lifting weights, we're not building muscle while we're pushing iron, okay? We're tearing down our muscles, and then they build back a little bit more and a little bit stronger through rest and protein and everything like that. So just working their guts out, not giving them enough rest, that you're literally setting them up for failure because they don't have time to build anything. They don't have time to, and even if you're just trying to get them back to where they should be anyway, because you pin them, they get out of shape. If you're not resting them enough, you're just, I don't know, you're messing up in my opinion. So that was a good point, Hard Knock.
Oh, very good point. Very good point. I think that's a mistake that folks that are just starting out and everything, I think that's a mistake that's probably fairly common. Old Time Game Farm said he's another vote for the rotation side.
Rotation. Rotation, let's see.
McKinley Corbett said back when it was legal that he learned the big lesson the hard way on those leg weights that you strap on the leg.
I've seen a lot of those, and I've seen a lot of guys, like he said, in the legal sense, they would do that, dude, and their roosters would be so muscle bound and tight, and I'm like, man, what are you doing? Literally, what are you doing?
All seems like a great idea till it's too late. If you're not making mistakes, you ain't trying hard enough.
Yeah, mistakes are good. Mistakes are normal. Mistakes are lessons. It's when you keep making the same mistakes over and over and over is where I find the problem.
Agreed. That would be the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting a different result.
I know, guys, I'm not saying... I've known people every year, they make the same mistakes, and you scratch your head the first few times they do it, and then after that, you just kind of expect it. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I really value making mistakes because I know next time I won't do it again. So, I don't know. It's not bad to fail. It's bad to not learn from those failures.
Yeah, if you're not learning and growing and everything, then you're not getting anything out of your failure. It's just a failure. It's a setback. So, on-point game foul is another vote for both. Jeff Harris said they don't do the leg weights. They usually tape lug nuts to them.
I don't know, whatever he's doing, it's working, I reckon.
5, 10, 15. Lug nuts, okay. I'm just messing with Jeff.
Daniel V likes to do the rotation, fly pins, scratching, so on. Rotation. Is there anyone else that wants to be one last guest before we move the show forward? Does anyone else want to come in for your time? You got 3 minutes to sit in. Just tell us which side do you lean to and why. Do you prefer both? If so, I'm sure you lean to one side more than the other. And do you prefer bench work, table work, or rotation? Bench work or table work? Do you like to use the bench or the table?
Tyler Atkins says both.
How many times have I said that today? I couldn't tell you.
What's that?
Bench or table?
Bench or rotation.
Right. I'm serious. Without you doing that, that's probably why I didn't even catch it in the beginning. I have said that so many times today. Bench or table. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Bench or rotation.
Yes, sir. Tyler Atkins and BK Game Farm are both. They're both.
I got Tyler's. So BK is both.
And guys, keep in mind, there's no right or wrong answer here. This is all opinion based, so feel free to come in, say what you're going to say. We're not going to disagree or anything like that. You get your time, you say how you feel about it. But yeah, it is what it is. So there's no right or wrong answer.
That's exactly right. You couldn't have said it no better. There is no right, there is no wrong answer. This is about your preference, what you like to do, and what works for you. Just getting into game foul, says Jack Nasty, 1992. A lot different than laying chickens for sure. They are certainly different in many ways.
Yeah, they're different in many ways, and you'd be surprised at how similar a chicken is a chicken, too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
We've all been around barnyards. We call them big stocks here in Kentucky. We've all been around them, and you'd be surprised at how similar they are and different at the same time. It's kind of hard to explain. I mean, they're chickens in a sense, and I don't know. They're you definitely got to do things different with them. You ain't got to worry about a windstorm when you got a bunch of barnyards.
That'd be the honest truth. I mean, high winds, just a disaster for most game fowlers.
Every chicken man, listen, every chicken man knows the feeling of a windstorm coming and you're at work or something biting your fingernails, or you wake up that morning or somebody calls you, hey, we got high winds, and you're going home and you're like, oh no, I hope not. I hope not. Every chicken man knows that dread of the wind.
Yeah, sir. That's the God's honest truth. Well, with no more guests in line, I suppose we're just moving forward.
Let's check my
Easy, cameraman.
Yeah. You'll see my messy garage with my secret formula.
Secret formula. I bet you them betties are growing out just fine.
That's what I use it for mostly, is my broodfowl and my biddies.
There's a reason. There's a reason for that.
Another conversation for another day, though, right, John?
Certainly. Certainly. That is hands down the best supplement on the market. Hands down. So, moving forward then. I guess it's time for me and you to hold the spotlight and give our opinions on these two subjects. The bench and the table. Or the bench and rotation.
People want to be like, isn't that the same thing?
Right. I'm telling you, I've done it. I've done it so many times today. So many times. How do you mix your ShowPro with the chick feed? 1 tablespoon to 1 pound. The ShowPro will do you great for general chick feed, but I'm telling you, it'll make the standard 18% chick feeds, which are not very great, it'll make them a whole lot better for you. But it works really well in combination with a very good chick starter. If your chick starter's not that great, yes, it's going to help you, and it'll help quite a bit. But if you want to get the maximum out of it, you need to be feeding them a really good chick starter.
So back to this conversation. So how do you want to do it? You want us to give our own opinion of bench and then table, and then how we personally maybe practice in the past or practice now, or give a dynamic of how we feel of each, or how do you think we should do it here?
Yes, sir. I think we tackle this very simply, right? We start talking about bench work, and, you can just give a short introduction of, whether or not, well, actually, in the beginning, we both said that we do both. Like, both of us would prefer both, and I'm sure we have different reasons and stuff. So, first, let's go ahead and we'll start off with you. We'll get your opinion on why you do both, and, how you tend to break it down. And we will start off with bench work, and you'll give some pros on bench work, and then I'll take over and I'll give some pros on bench work, and we'll talk about cons on bench work. Old Drake Davenport in the house. Trigger please in the house. No problem with you being late. This episode will be on YouTube. Mr. Davenport said he used to do both. Now he just rotates.
Okay, so let me put one down for Drake. Let me put him down So Drake now, he's rotation.
Yes, sir. Fellers, if you don't know the YouTube page, we've got it written down right here. It is Chicken Chatter 247. We have the Chicken Chatter logo there on the YouTube page. You can catch all the past episodes, including this episode, which is being recorded, will be uploaded to that channel at a later date. So if you did miss part of the show, you can always go back and rewatch it.
So, in my opinion, this may throw a lot of people off. I'm a rotation guy, but I really enjoy the bench. And that's just me. I've had a lot of time to do trial and error with the bench. I've had a lot of time to kind of figure it out, figure out my birds. I typically keep, well, not typically, I keep the same birds. I keep hatches and grays. And I got a family of Kelso at my partner's house, my friend's house. But I know my birds. But for the most part, guys, I rotate through the day. For me, I like to go fly pin, scratch pin, tie cord. I've seen a lot of birds get messed up, and this is just my opinion. Like I said, there's no right or wrong. I have an opinion like everybody else. I've seen a lot of birds get messed up in a run pen. There's a way to do it. I've seen a lot of guys leave them in there too long, and they'll even put like a 2x4 or a tire in the run pen and let them run over the tire. I've seen them run their bodies off. They just constantly, and that's not a natural movement. So when you do rotation, you're trying to mimic natural. That's what you want. You want them natural. You want them scratching, flying, happy, pecking. When they see another rooster, you really have to be careful with that run pen, in my opinion. But rotation, guys, you can't go wrong with it. A lot of guys can't rotate. You know, a lot of guys, they get up before the daylight. They get home during the dark time, and they just ain't got the time for it. They just don't have the time for it. Those same guys, back in the legal days when competition was legal, those guys, I've seen them compete just as good as anybody else. So there is a time and a place for both. I personally rotate through the day. And then at nighttime, I do bench work. I love bench work. I don't do the runs. I just do flies. I put my hands on them, like I said. I don't really hardcore work them. I don't do push-ups. It's mostly just flies and what do you call those? I drew a blank. Where you grab the base of their tail and you pull them down to the edge of the table and you let them. Then you do a few reflexes. But I'm just doing that for cardio, and I'm also doing that to really just bond with the rooster, and I can kind of feel their fat, see where they're at. But I don't hardcore bench work, no. I just like to do it, like I said, just to see where the roosters are at. And I'll take note of the lazy ones. And the lazy ones do get worked. I mean, I do work them now. If they're not wanting to do what they're wanting to do, you know, you're rotating them for days on end and you're still pinching gut fat. No, they're getting worked. But it's knowing how to do it, guys. And like Hard Knock said, rest is very, very, very important. Okay. Even if you mess them up on the bench, you get them too tight, you get them muscle bound, rest. I'm not giving too many secrets out, but after I like to do my little, you know, my 3-week thing, I'll say on here, I give them plenty of time just on green grass and tie cords, just to find themselves, just to get their muscles loose. Because a lot of times you can get on that bench, you can cause a rooster to pull a muscle or anything like that, and you don't know anything about it. You know, that's why I stretch them. If you're going to do bench work, guys, at least stretch them. Because you ain't going to know nothing about he pulled a muscle until you know about it. You see what I'm saying? So give them roosters time to rest, time to find themselves. Very important. No matter which one you do, rotation, bench work, know your birds, know that family, know what they respond to, know how to get them right, and you're not going to go wrong with either. I just really want to stress, be careful with the bench work. It's very easy to overdo it. It's very easy to do more damage because those roosters aren't naturally picking up that exercise. So that's my opinion, guys. I'm mostly rotation, but I do love a bench in the evening. It's got its place. It's bonding time. It's building up a little bit of cardio. That's just my opinion on it. So, Banshee, what do you think?
Well, feller, I would be inclined to agree very, very much. I think the bench has its place in everything, and the bench for me is more in line with building that bond between man and bird. So I very much agree with Mr. Bates that was in here earlier and Gilbo, both of those gentlemen. Where the bench for me is more about bonding. Yeah, we do some reflex exercises. Whether you like to flip them over or not, and get them off of their back, that's up to you. I like reflex flies. I like up flies, down flies. I don't mess with runs very much. I think runs are easy to overdo. They're one of the mistakes you can make pretty easily. And I think a scratch pin that done correctly and, putting them in a fly pin with, a lot of bedding and feeding them in the bedding, I think that stuff done correctly will keep his legs in fine enough shape, and I don't need to work his legs manually. So for me, the bench is more about building that bond with the rooster. I mean, if you want to try to build his wings and his wind up a little bit, I actually do like fooling with what I call ladder boards or elevator boards, where they the high angle, and you drop the bird at a mid or low point and let him work his way up the board while he's flapping. They're usually
I got
solid.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, some people call them. I've heard them called angle boards, fly boards. I've heard them called numerous things. I always refer to them as ladder boards because some guys they're not solid, but most of them are solid. I think there's a time and a place for those. So bench work, yeah, for me.
Yeah, I don't
more
do
about-
any leg work. Yeah, I don't do any leg work on the bench. That's a no-no for me. Like I said, I just wanted to clarify that bench work for me is mostly just wing stuff, cardio, flies, things like that. So that's all about what works for you. If it's working, like as the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right?
Oh, absolutely. So while we're on the subject of the bench, I mean, we can get into, little nuances between, what different guys like to do, but give us your ideas on some of the pros working, with the bench and whatnot. And after that, we'll get into the cons of what we think, the drawbacks are or could be from a bench.
So, in my opinion, guys, some of the pros of a bench is let's start off with very basic. The pros of the bench is if you got lazy roosters. A lot of people don't have lazy roosters, but I have hatch grays. Okay, I like hatch grays. I raise a family of hatches and grays, and some of them are as sorry as melted ice cream. They really are. They don't want to move, and they've been like that as long as I can. They're just like that. So for me, guys, that's a pro. Another thing, guys, is you can really see where a rooster's at, in my opinion. So you can kind of see how he's moving, how he's working. If he wants to work, you can feel of him, how he's responding. You can really see where a rooster's at. Obviously, another pro is you get to build bonding time. You build a trust. He's seeing that you're flying him. He's seeing that you're doing the people call them flirts or whatever. I don't know. And even if you do run them, but he's seeing that you don't mean no harm. You got your hands on him. He'll start enjoying the work. Most of the time, most roosters will start enjoying it. They'll start cutting their wing back at you, and they're having a good time. But he's learning to trust you is what it is. So you can't get that in rotation. You can get it by just putting your hands on them and things like that, but rotating them, it's just kind of grab them and go, move them, and be done with it. So that's a pro. We'll look in the comments here and see if anybody else wants to add to that. I feel like you can push them a little extra too. I feel like I want to add that. If you got a rooster and you just feel like rotating them, it's just not getting them there, and you just want to get a little bit more out of them, and you've got rest in mind and proper rest, you can kind of get them to where you want them through the bench, in my opinion. So that's some pros of a bench. Banshee, you want to add anything to that?
I think you hit a lot of key points, on the head. One of the big ones there right at the end being that, some birds, Of course, a rooster knows, how much, to work himself and this, that, and the other. But some birds are a little lazy. And no matter what you do, you just can't quite get them to be active and so on. And so if you got to take matters into your own hands, the bench is a place to kind of do that. So one of the pros of the bench is certainly that you can push them beyond, their normal limit or, where they're at currently. The bench also, as I said earlier, a big pro of the bench is building that bond, that relationship, that hands-on, between yourself and the fowl. So, they're not skittish and they're more relaxed and, things of that nature there.
I got to add something before it slips my mind. Another big key point of the bench. If you work a lot and you ain't got an old lady or anybody at home to rotate your chickens, guys, a lot of guys, they literally go to work, they'll throw food in the fly pens, they'll go to work, they don't get home till 5 or 6 in the evening. Your roosters ain't going to get to where they should be like that, if you ain't got nobody at home to rotate them. So you can really kind of patch those gaps or get really close to it through a bench if that's a thing for you. If working's a thing for you and you just don't have time to rotate them, guys, a bench can be your best friend if you do it right. So, in my opinion.
Everyone's schedule, is different. Their lifestyle is different. The people that they can count on, that's all different. Those are variables. And so, yeah, the bench could be an essential tool in filling in things that you can't get done, during a normal day. So I think there's, I think the pros of the bench are pretty well hammered home. The cons, I think the cons of the bench are going to be pretty straightforward, right?
Oh, yeah. I got plenty of cons, too.
Overwork is going to be
You
the
can
number.
start if you want to. Fire away.
Overwork is going to be the number one thing. Overwork and, mishandling, okay? If you're rough with a rooster, especially a stag, okay, a stag that's just getting used to being gentle down and held, this, that, and the other, if you're a little rough on them, and guys, I'm telling you, it's not going to take a whole lot. Those feathers are more sensitive than you think they are, and that stuff hurts. And, you can turn one skittish, you can turn him angry, you can really change his demeanor by mishandling and, things of that nature. So you got to be pretty gentle. You're not just going to snatch them up and grab them and throw them around and this, that, and the other. So I think that's a pretty big con with, both stags and cocks. But you. Next point. I could go on and on, but bouncing seems like a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So another big thing, guys, is a lot of people, if I do bench work, guys, you need to stretch your chickens. You really do. You can cause them to pull a muscle. I mean, anytime that you do exercise, guys, you really do need to stretch, because if you've just been sitting around all day, you get off the couch, then you go out there and start trying to do, bench presses and deadlifts, and a lot of times, and you're not used to that, or you've not been doing much that day, you're liable to pull a muscle and hurt yourself. And a lot of times when you're bench working, you're not going to know anything about it, so you're just going to keep doing it and keep stressing that rooster, keep putting stress on that muscle. He's already hurt, so I think a big point, guys, is to stretch them, to move them, stretch their wings, rub them down. Mike Ratliff was big on stretching. Actually, every keep method that I've seen in DVDs, they always stretched their roosters. They always pulled their wings back a little bit, rubbed them down, massaged them, and then they started working. So if you're going to do it, I would make it a point to make sure. Set a reminder on your phone if you have to, because a lot of times we just forget stuff naturally, and we'll just go out there and start working them. Make it a point to take time to stretch your roosters, okay? You don't want to pull muscle, because you probably ain't want to find out about it until later,
Yes, sir. Los Valencia Game Farm was asking if you could kind of tell how you stretch them. What do you do to help stretch them out and so on?
So I take their legs and I'll bend their leg back kind of level with their body. So if I'm holding a rooster, here's his leg, here's his thigh. We call it the poke, on the shank. I'll kind of slowly stretch it even with his body, and sometimes just a little bit more, and I'll kind of hold it there. And I'll do that. Then I'll rub his leg down. Then I'll switch him over. I'll do that. I'll take his wings. A lot of times you can pull them up on his back and push them together, like you're holding the tips of his wings and kind of pull them up above his back. You want to massage the base of his wings where they connect to his body. Then you want to stretch them out this way. And you just want to rub them down, guys. It's not real complicated, but you just want to kind of slowly ease into it and rub them down and just make sure you get them to where they're flexible. And a lot of times doing that, you'll realize how tight they actually are. You can just kind of rub that out. So just make sure you don't hyperextend. You don't want to hyperextend. You don't want to pull their leg plumb back, and just be slow and gentle with them, guys. Rub them down. Do that a few times, and then start the bench work.
Yes, sir. So when we're dealing with that particular issue, because I think bench work can certainly find us overworking fowl or pushing them just a little too far. So when we have that roaster that's a little too tight and they're experiencing that lactic acid buildup, the soreness within the muscle and whatnot, how do we combat that? What's some of the best things we can do to help relax that lactic acid and help that muscle to ease the pain?
So I've heard my whole life lactic acid is treated with B15. I've heard that my whole life. I don't give B15. I personally combat that with rest. Okay. I personally combat that. Oh, it's fine. I combat that with rest. So even if you do overwork a rooster and you are getting that lactic acid buildup, that's going to happen naturally anyway, guys, in the muscle. Rest is very important. Even if you do mess them up on the bench, you give them enough rest, they will recover. So that's my thing. I don't have a lot of experience with B15. I think a lot of people have used it. I've always used just B12, if anything, but I don't have a lot of opinion on lactic acid buildup other than just, like I said, I don't want to beat that dead horse again, but just make sure you give them enough rest, and it'll take care of itself, in my opinion.
Rest is key, and that's going to be something that it definitely helps, with any sort of muscle issue, this, that, or the other. So it's going to be kind of hard to replace rest. There is no magic solution, right? That is kind of where I was going with this. There's no magical solution that really gets it knocked out of them real fast. There's things that will help. Fred says banana helps. Obviously, potassium does help with muscle-related issues, circulation, things of that nature. B15, Gilbo Bates said is great for cold weather. I've never messed with B15. I wouldn't be able to weigh in on it. Rigo Ortiz was asking, do you believe it's the same thing for American and fowl as it is for Orientals, as in like rotate, table work? Honest, I haven't, never really worked with pure Oriental fowl, rotating them or anything of that nature. So I can't say. I think they're very similar, but they're different. So I think there's, in my mind, there's certain things you can do and certain things that may not, work so well. So see what Mr. Chili has to say on the subject of Oriental fowl. And for the sake of it, we'll say Oriental grades as well.
So we've had the Rampuri A-seals a long time. I hate an A-seal. I'm sorry, guys. I love every one of you watching, but I hate an A-seal. They turned me against A-seals. And it's not that they weren't good. This is back in the legal days when competition was legal and things. They were game. They were good. I mean, good graded down. But A-seals, now they're different. This is back in the early 2000s, okay? Back when Louisiana was legal and things like that. A-seals, you didn't want to fight them pure back then, okay? A-seals were slow as molasses in the wintertime. They like to do the neck wrestling stuff. They liked all of that. Very weird. We didn't really show any pure at all. Half and half we did. Still wasn't happy with them. You could rotate them. You could bench work them too if you wanted to. But I noticed the more you graded them down towards the American side, the more you could do with them what you would with American fowl. But I don't know. They were weird. We just rotated the half and halves. Really, we didn't really bench work those. I can't remember why. I don't want to lie to anybody. I can't remember why we didn't. I was young, so this is when I was 14 and 15. My mentor worked with them a long time. He just said, rotate them. And but I know the more we graded them down, the more you could bench work if you wanted to, things like that. So A-seals now are different. They're different than they were back then. I've seen A-seals now that are, they move around their pen, I'll say, just as fast as an American bird. They point out just like an American bird. A lot of times, the ones we had, they always needed feed in them. You really couldn't get them empty. They had done better with feed, but I've seen them now, so I can't chime in on A-seals now. But I just know back we had some from Vietnam years ago, and they were weird. So we just rotated the half and halves. But that's all I got on that.
Well, I think that's plenty fair enough. I knew that you guys historically, you and your mentor and whatnot, had a family of Rampuri A-seals, and I figured you would have some feedback on that subject, and it'd be something that you could answer much better than I.
They're just so different than the A-seals now. So different. I mean, these were the genuine, slow. They felt like bricks. Just, stood straight back, black Rampuris, and literally just slow as molasses, but they could drive nails. I mean, they could drive nails. But, that's a different animal than today's A-seals, It's a lot different. Most A-seals now are graded down, I think. They're graded down and things like that, so. Even the ones people claim are pure are still graded down, in my opinion, a lot of them, so. Yeah, that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, that's a subject for another day too, but real deal Oriental fowls certainly are pretty hard to find here in the U.S. That being said, I'm not saying that there aren't some, fowl in here that are supposed to be A-seals and whatnot that aren't good, because there certainly are, but the real deal Oriental imported fowl, very difficult to find. So
yeah, I've seen good A-seals. I've seen good A-seals, Japs, and all of that, so. Moving on.
Yes, sir. Moving on to rotation. And, starting with all of that, you already kind of outlined your rotation a little bit with the fly pins, scratch pins, tie cords, and stuff. So give us your pros on rotation and what you like most about rotation and what each element does for you.
Well, rotation for me is easy, okay? It is. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to wear yourself out on a bench. If you got a mean rooster, you don't have to get beat to death until you're getting them off the tie cord or out of the fly pen. But it's easy. It's simple. You just move them, let them work themselves, every 2 hours, however you do it. Go make you a sandwich, carry on with your day. Do whatever you want to do. They'll do it themselves. It's really easy. So that's a big, that's a really big thing. Another thing is, guys, it's hard to mess them up rotating. It really is. They know what they need. They get in that fly pen, they're going to scratch around, they're happy. You put them on a tie cord, they're going to get green grass, they're going to stretch their wings, walk around, bugs, all of that stuff. You put them in a scratch pen for a while. I don't know if I said scratch pen or fly pen first. You put them in a scratch pen, though, guys, they're going to dig around. They're really going to get the fat off of them. They're going to build their legs up. Like I said, the fly pen, they're going to fly up and down, and it keeps them happy, too. It really, really does. They really enjoy rotating. I've not met or had many roosters that don't enjoy getting moved around, even if it's just not even in a keep sense. Even if you just move a rooster that's been in a cage and you move them to a different cage, that means the world to them. I mean, that's everything. Their whole attitude changes. So it keeps them happy, and you want your chickens happy, okay? You really, really do. Happy chickens, that's really important, and we'll build up on that another day. But it tickles them to death. I'll say it like that. So yeah, that's another key point. So for me, like I said, I go from fly pen. So I do rotating is the main thing I do. I go from fly pen guys. I don't like a big high roost like Gilbo was saying earlier. I don't like a big high roost. You're doing more damage because he's going to get up there. He's not going to move. When he does jump down, you're going to cause stone bruises. You can cause injuries. What? Phone's going off. It's all good. Back to what I was saying. So, what's more beneficial, having a 6 foot roost, 7 foot roost? Well, 6 foot's fine. Having a 7 foot roost, 8 foot roost, 9 foot roost, 10, whatever, 10, 12, whatever. What's the benefit of him flying up there one time and sitting there for 2 hours? I mean, what benefit?
Yeah, well, what's the benefit of him getting an extra foot or an extra 18 inches this out or the other way? Everyone's going to say, yeah, well, he's going to work his wings more. If you record in slow motion him flying to a 5 foot roost and then an 8 foot roost, how many more flaps do you think he's getting in? 1?
Yeah, and he's doing
maybe
it maybe
2.
Maybe 2.
And the damage that would occur from coming off of such a high roost pole, because I'm not knocking anyone, but realistically speaking, Mr. Chili, how many people do you think have an adequate sized fly pin to have a roost pole that high?
Not many. I've seen a lot of guys put roost poles so high, and you can hear the rooster when he flies off of the roost pole smack the side of the fly pin or smack the door when he jumps down.
Because it doesn't have adequate space to fly to the ground. If you're going to use a roost that's really high, you'd probably want to do it on a courtyard, specifically for that purpose. And even then, at that height, you're running the risk of him doing damage to himself when he comes off of that roost pole.
Sore joints, inflamed joints, stone bruises. If he gets a cut on his foot, guys, he can set up bumblefoot, which is just the staphylococcus germ. It's staph infection in their foot. They can get all kinds of damage. Versus if you got that roost pole 4 foot, 5 foot, he's going to bounce on and off of that thing all day, especially when he gets up there. He's got something to look at that makes him happy or angry. If there's another rooster, he ain't going to like it. But if there's a hen, he's going to be real happy. He's going to jump up there, look at her. He's going to jump down to find her. He's going to see she's not there. He's going to jump back up to look at her again. And he's just going to, because chickens are not the dumbest animals in the world, but they're not the smartest either. And he will just jump up and down all day trying to figure out, So I don't overdo my roost. That's a big part of it. And with that, with the fly pins, guys, have adequate bedding. John, did you want to add anything to that, though? The smaller roost pole lower to the ground? Did you have anything to add to that?
I mean, again, I think if you actually film the flight from 5 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot, whatever you want to do, the difference is not going to be that notable. So you say, well, he flies higher, he's working his wings more. You should actually film it and see how much more he's working his wings. I would say it's probably 2 full flaps at best. And the benefits to that just don't outweigh the backlash from it. So for me, I have many of my roost poles are 4.5, 5 foot. That's what they are. And if you've never tried the trick, of having, these stalls all together, leaving the males in there, or rotating the males to there and then throwing a female in the center, they will absolutely go nuts. They will work themselves for hours. If you were to throw them in there at 8 a.m. in the morning, they will not stop for hours. Before they even begin to calm down, it's probably going to be 4 or 5 hours later. They will just constantly fly up, fly down, jump up, jump down. If you got a jump board for feeding, they will jump up, jump down. They will fly up, fly down. They will look for her constantly and just drive themselves insane. So it's a very good way, utilized properly and everything, very good way for them to work themselves. And bedding, of course, in any sort of structure where you're going to get them off of the ground, bedding is key, okay? Not only does it need to be clean, but it does need to be, somewhat soft. And you can't just put, sand in there that's been in there for like 2 years and has started to kind of, harden together and start to form solid ground. And you can't put an inch or two of straw in there and call it good. You're going to have to put enough bedding in there. So it's to protect your investment, right? Because you got all this time and effort in raising the bird. Why would you want to do something to undo any and all of that? So those are certainly key elements in a fly pen scenario when it comes to rotation for both, pros and cons. There's great ways of doing it. And then, other ways, may they may kind of set us back a little bit. So I heard you touch earlier in the show about run pins. I've never used run pins. I've seen tons of guys use run pins. It's something that's happened for decades, of course. It's nothing new. My mentor did not like run pins, and I never saw one on his yard. He always, kind of believed that the fly pins and the scratch pins would do the work, and he didn't need to run them on a bench, nor did he need to run them in a run pin. So, while I do believe it works, do you think there's more drawbacks to the run pin than there are benefits, or do you think there's a lot of merit to folks doing it correctly?
It's not a natural movement, so this is just my opinion. Yes, you can do it right, but the thing with run pins is the time you leave them there. You don't want them to overdo it, guys. It's not natural. It's not natural for them to want to run to a rooster and not be able to find that rooster, and he'll just sit and run back and forth forever. Now, is there any benefits to it? Absolutely. But like I said, it's about the time frame that you got him in there. You can absolutely overdo it because his mind has got one thing. He's got one thing on his mind, and that's getting to that other rooster. It's not about, am I working too much? Am I happy? They monitor themselves. They really do. They kind of know what to do, believe it or not. I mean, for the most part. That's not on the table anymore. He's got one focus in mind, and that's seek and destroy. And he will just ruin his body. So if you're going to do it, guys, be very careful of how long they're in there. That's my opinion. But I don't use them myself, no.
Makes sense. I earlier recalled you saying that it's not a natural movement. I certainly agree with that. Because we're forcing them into this environment to get them to do this one activity. And, is it natural for them to want to get at each other? Yes, but not constantly back and forth all day long and this, that, and the other. And certainly overuse is going to lead to, problems. Because if they were to get out, right, in a free setting and they get into an altercation, they're going to hurt one another, right? There's going to be damage occurring. So in the run pen, they're concerned about getting to one another, and they don't much care whether or not their body hurts because their instinct has kicked in and they are trying, to get to one another. So yeah, I think the guys that use them successfully have had many trials and errors, and I think they, like HB 221 was saying, don't overdo anything. Trigger was offering a pretty good piece of advice that kind of does fall into rotation. He said a great benefit that really helps them out, load them up and take them for a drive.
I've heard that a lot, and I've heard a lot of people doing that, and I can see that being beneficial. I had a good friend of mine. He lived in Alabama, and he always was a big advocate of that and told me that. He'd say, there was a church close to his house, and he'd say, man, I drive them to the church like all the time and down and back. And that does make sense because you don't want them to get threw off there. But my thing is, I don't do the drive thing. I think there's a lot of benefit to it. But what I do is I just get, say it's one of those poultry shows, just the legal poultry shows. I make sure I get there ahead of time and let my roosters just calm down, set, relax, get acclimated. So for every hour of travel, I give 2 hours of rest. And just let them adjust to their climate, the ride, let them gather themselves. That's what I do. I don't think you're going to hurt them at all by taking them and riding around with them. I think it can be beneficial. But for me personally, I just I try to get there early. You know what I mean, and just let them do their thing for a while.
I think that's historically been something that's happened, quite often, and guys would just advocate. The guys that were willing to share their keys to success and whatnot were advocating for, get to your event early, right? Show up early enough to give them time to acclimate, time to adjust, and time to settle in, and so on. Mike Medina was asking, what would the benefit of a truck ride be? Simply to get them used to travel, right? Because every bird handles stress differently. So while they're going through the motions of being put through a keep and whatnot, they can adjust to that, and they can adjust to their routine and everything. But then you change their routine all of a sudden, and then you're driving. So some folks really, really believe in taking them for a drive so they don't, have that added stress, the stress of travel. And there's other folks like Mr. Gilbo Bates was talking about there in the chat, and HB221 talking about not putting them into rest stalls, but the rest stalls rather are the travel boxes. So I've heard of folks doing that a lot. So they're used to being inside of the travel box and not just a rest stall. So that makes sense. Back on topic and in regards to the rotation, and this specifically, I guess I'm going to talk about scratch pins or cords, either one, because I'm going to bring up a piece from a bit of the past. Mr. Chili, do you remember one time we were talking nutrition with a group of folks? It was one feller in general whom I won't mention by name because there's no point. We were just talking about nutrition, and we were talking about a supplement and stuff, and he was just advocating for not wanting them to be at their peak. He didn't want them to be 100%. He said, I don't want to walk him around at 100%. I want him at 75 or 80 so I can build him up to 100%. If he's 100% and I put him in a scratch pin, he's going to dig all the way down to China. That is just simply not true. Birds know their limitations, and they're just not going to do that.
Well, to give people context on what we were saying, we were talking about nutrition, and we were talking about when you're feeding them like you should, they're going to feel good. That's all they're doing. They're going to feel good. They're going to move around. They're going to pace the wire. And he was saying, I don't want them feeling that good. I don't want them at 100% feeling good, pretty much, because he's like, they will work their body off. They're going to do this and that. I want them feeling about 70% there, and then I'll get them feeling 100% during the keep. And I was like, no, man, that's not what we're saying. You want them to feel good all the time, and then the keep is just get them to where they should be and undo the damage we did from being in a pen. We're not trying to add anything. I know I've said this already, but we're not trying to add anything through the keep that the rooster didn't have naturally anyway. I mean, you're not going to take a rooster. How do I say this? You're not going to take a rooster that he has no strength, okay? He has no strength in his legs at all. Naturally, the whole family's like that. You're not going to have him, breaking boards and doing it consistently for a long period of time just because you put him through a keep naturally or whatever. You're not. So we're just trying to get him to where he should be genetically. That's my opinion. You can disagree with me. That's fine. That's what this show's about. We welcome all opinions, but we're just trying to get him to where he's supposed to be. So, but I want him feeling good anyway,
That's essentially the point of bringing up, what I was bringing up. It wasn't to sit there and say, we don't want them feeling this way. But the point was that You know, he was saying, well, if they feel that great, they're going to work themselves to death. They're going to work their body off in the scratch pen. He's going to dig all the way down to China. And that's just, you know, from having birds that walk around at their peak, you know, on a cord or in a pen, because I know you've achieved that. I know I've achieved that. They just don't do that. They know their limitations. You know, they might be more active. He might have more energy. But if you go out and he's been on that cord for 2 weeks, he's not digging this 8-inch trench of a racetrack all the way around his area. He's just feeling good. He's cutting his wing. He's flapping. He's crowing. He's very active, but he's not working himself every day so hard that he's losing his body.
Yeah, you want them feeling good, guys, and a rooster knows what he needs. As long as it's natural and his nutrition where it should be, he's not going to overwork himself. There's stuff that you can give chickens. I won't go into all that. That's not natural, and you can really cause them to kind of lose sight of their own well-being, and they can really overwork themselves. But as far as nutrition goes, guys, getting them 100% where they should be nutritionally, they're not going to overwork themselves. It's just not going to happen.
Trigger Please was saying in the comments there that his feel like they're just about ready to go every day since he made some adjustments with his feeding and so on and so forth. So that's one other good thing. Like, we want to keep them healthy. We keep them in really good shape, whatnot. I know you experienced it as well. When you really start to get close to like what they need nutritionally and everything, and you're hitting your marks and you're not loading them up with carbohydrates and loading them up with fats, like they've got it in their diet, but it's not in excess, then we're not retaining, you know, the same type of body. They're very firm, but they're not carrying the same kind of mass. They're different. They're very different, but it's a significant sort of change. And I don't think everybody likes it. I enjoy it very much to see them healthy and active and, you know, doing those things. Much closer to show weight.
Yeah, we were just talking, guys. I don't want anybody to get confused. We weren't saying that they won't overwork themselves if you leave them in a scratch pen all day. We were saying when you feed them like they should, just because they're feeling good does not mean they will overwork themselves because they're wanting to work. You know what I'm saying? That's what we were talking. We were jumping off to nutrition for a second. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. You can find ways to overwork them, rotating them, you know, so. But health goes a long, long way, and I'm sure everyone in here has heard both of us talk about, you know, how important it is to have healthy chickens and to do everything that you're supposed to do on your yard to maintain that level of health. Trigger, being an example, has made some changes to his feed regimen, and thus far I think he's, you know, very happy with his results. And physically, he is seeing these things, these changes and characteristics in his birds and stuff, and it makes a significant difference. You know, when you start seeing stuff like that, it takes you down a whole different road. And so healthy birds are certainly key, no matter which side of the fence that you're going to be on when it comes to conditioning, whether you're on the bench side or whether you're on the rotational side, whether you do both, you're going to lean more one way or the other.
Yeah, like I said, I'm more of a rotation guy, but I really, really enjoy the bench, and I think it has a really important part of my program. It does have an important part of my program, but if it doesn't, guys, there's more than one way to skin a cat, okay? We're trying to achieve the same thing. I'm not trying to achieve anything more than you are on the bench than you are rotating, okay? I'm not. We're trying to get the same, there's more than one way to town, as they say. I'm trying to achieve the same thing you are. I'm trying to get that rooster healthy, where he should be, get the fat off of him, and just get him to where he should be naturally. So there, like I said, more than one way to skin a cat. However you do it, if it works, it works. So, but that's just my program. It's a rotation with a little bench.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. At the end of the day, it is not, again, it is not a one-size-fits-all type deal, right? You're going to put your hands on them. You're going to have to dedicate time to learn your fowl, and you're going to have to make some mistakes and whatnot along the way to learn what's going to work best for you. That's what this was all about. The preferences of different guys, and that all enjoy the same thing, right? We all enjoy doing the same things, and so it's just about different opinions on the same subject. And we can be different. We can learn little things from one another, and I think it's a good subject to talk about, and something that really kind of brings fellowship more than it brings division.
Correct. So yeah, guys, like I said, there was no right answer. There was no wrong answer. Everybody that came into the box and gave your opinion, guys, I applaud you. That's awesome. In this sport, so many people are wanting to argue, and in this chicken chatter group, I've not seen much of that. I've not seen any arguments, guys. We've all came together, and if you disagree, you disagree, and that's how gentlemen should handle it. Everybody does things different, and if they don't, that's them. So we've had a lot of good discussions and debates about how they feel, and it's went really well. And some really interesting points were made.
We've had a great audience in the chats, previously and tonight and all the time, when we do this. Everybody's been very respectful, and we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to come together. We're not supposed to be knocked down, drag out arguing. We're supposed to have these conversations. We can disagree, and it'd still be fine. It's not like it's the end of the world when that happens. It's good to talk about these things. It's good to bring these things into light, and it's good to have these conversations. It's about fellowship, guys. We don't have to try to get everyone on the planet to do the same thing that we're doing, but sharing ideas and coming together and enjoying the same things. That's more or less what it's about. That's why, we're doing what we're doing. The fellowship, the atmosphere, the sharing and the bouncing back and forth of opinions and knowledge. That's why we enjoy what we do.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, guys, is being able to disagree and still be cordial. That's the main gist. We don't have to know each other well. We don't have to be friends. We may not know each other at all, but in this sport, we should be able to disagree and still be cordial. So, that's very important.
One question here Phil D had in the comments was, how would moisture affect a bird in the drag?
Well, back in the legal sense, back when competition was legal, moisture to me, so I don't really know, as far as the drag sense goes, but I do know that moisture is, the muscles, the moisture that's in the muscles. So a lot of times it has nothing to do with the drag, but I'm just saying a lot of times then moisture was how you would cut. Okay. You want it's hydration. Moisture is hydration. That's all it is. Your rooster's muscles are hydrated. Same as me and you. If we don't drink a lot of water, guys, and we've worked out, you've seen them bodybuilders, we're going to be tightened up. When you drink water, you're taking potassium, you're taking all this stuff, you're going to be loose, okay? You're going to be able to stretch out, do what you need to do what you need to get done. So moisture was important for that aspect of competition then, for the rooster to do what he needed to do. But I don't know, maybe somebody can give another opinion on how it would affect a rooster in the drag. I'm not really too sure on that. I do know that, at least in the Philippines, when I go, if you got your roosters too wet, they're going to pop like a water balloon. But if you get them too dry, they're going to be muscle bound and they're not going to be able to subdue their opponent. So yeah, I'm not sure how it affects them in the drag. I just try to get them right when I point them, and I just try to always make sure my moisture's right. So.
Appreciate you answering that. I had to step out for just a second. And I missed the answer for the main part. That's okay, because I'll watch it back. I hope you guys were able to learn a little something from Jay Chili, and because I had no idea. I'm not going to sit here and lie about it. It's not like I have a heaping ton of experience with the drag pit, so it's never been a liar in the past. I'm not going to turn into one now. So
Well, it's a double-edged sword. So back in the legal sense, you get your roosters more on the wet side. They could cut. They could do well. They were in danger of bleeding out if they were a little bit too wet. But on the dry side, they could take more. Their intestines were drawn up, but they didn't cut as well. So it was a double-edged sword. So I've always just tried to make sure that I can get my moisture correctly. That's the thing, guys. You don't want it on extremes one way or another. You want it just right, and you got to figure that out by hands-on. I can't teach you how to feel a bird. I can't tell you how to feel a bird. I can't tell you what's right for you as far as moisture goes. That comes with experience, and some stuff you just can't learn by people telling you. You got to learn by doing it, if that makes sense.
Yep. That makes perfect sense. It's a very good answer too. I mean, there's a fine.
Said it. Chris said you want to dry up the gut, not the muscles. That is 100% correct. You want to dry up the inside, but you want to keep the muscles hydrated so they can do what they need to do. That's spot on, dude.
Best way to learn is just to do it. Agreed, Trigger. Agreed. As long as you live in an area where it is legally acceptable to do so. Because none of us are irresponsible gamecock owners, right? All of us follow the laws within our local areas. That's what we do.
Oh yeah, so we don't advocate for anything like that, guys. We're just saying, back in the legal sense, everything you want to do it the right way. You don't want it to you don't want to go too extreme, You wouldn't want to went too wet, too dry. You just got to get out there and you got to figure it out on your own. I can't tell you how to, I can't explain experience to you, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There is no replacement for experience.
No.
So it's been a great show. We are at time. We had several guests and whatnot earlier. We had a little tally sheet and whatnot. It has been
I'll show that.
Yeah, it's been an absolute blast. I think it went over very well. I think we did get a lot of the reviews and the responses that we were looking for from folks. And like I said, there was definitely no wrong answers, because this was all about your opinions and what works for you, not about the correct answer to a situation. It's about what works best for you. This episode is brought to you by YouTube and Chicken Chatter 247, where we upload all of our past episodes that are being recorded just like this one. So if you haven't seen us on there, go over there, check us out, give us a subscription, a follow, however YouTube does things, and be ready for when these videos pop up. And we upload our episodes usually later in the week when I get time and everything, but yeah, there's previous episodes. There's a couple of short clips, some of them here on TikTok and whatnot, same things. But follow us on YouTube. You can catch all these episodes. You can watch them back if you missed some information, or if you missed the past episode and you want to catch up on things. Yeah, we're going to keep that channel growing. We're going to, do things that we've got to do to kind of grow that channel and whatnot. Stay within our bounds so we don't get shadow banned there. So the content has to be acceptable, guys, and we must adhere to those standards. We don't want to get our page taken down after we've done all the work to get it, up and going, and now we're growing.
So the winner of this debate, we had 3 people that were strictly bench, and this is just the people who voted. We've had a lot of viewers, but the people who voted, we had 3 strictly bench, 5, 10, 15, 20 that was both, and 5, 10. That is not a mark, is it? That might actually be. I don't know. We had 10 or 11 that's strictly rotation. So mostly both, but a lot of people went towards rotation. not many people are strictly bench, so I am not surprised. That's kind of what I predicted anyway. That's what I thought That's what I thought it would be.
Yeah, I agree. Out of the guys that did vote both, I think the majority, not putting words in anyone's mouth, but I think the majority of guys really lean harder to the rotation side when they're doing both. I'm one of those guys that leans much harder to the rotational side of things. What's up there, Mr. Blue Pines? How you doing there, buddy?
Hey, Blue Pines, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, most people were kind of on the same page. That was very shocking. So you kind of think in this sport that it's a lot of secrets and a lot of people are doing stuff different, and you would be surprised at how many people are doing stuff exactly the same. So, I mean, there's a few different increments and things how they do it. But I'm saying as far as this goes, most people were definitely both or just rotation, but they were rotation based. But they, like you said, they were mostly rotation with a little bit of bench work for the same reason, just to build that bond, just to build up a little bit of cardio, things like that. So that shocked me a little bit. We're all thinking the same.
Yeah, I think that there was a lot of common ground and whatnot between several viewers and their opinions on the whole rotation and bench work thing. And I think it brought forth a great discussion. It was so shocking. Again, I agree that people were very similar. I expected rotations to be quite a bit different and guys doing different things, this, that, and the other. Like Bayou Heritage in the chat here said swim them. I've actually seen guys do that online. I've never seen it in person, but I've seen guys do that. White Lightning rotation would be like moving a rooster, to different environments to kind of mimic daily life. That would be him not being confined. So moving him to a large fly pen, allowing him to fly up and down, work his wings a bit. A scratch pin would be designed to work the legs. A tie cord would be for him to be able to kind of do both, to scratch around a little bit, to fly up to a roost, fly down, just enjoy green grass, enjoy being able to stretch, this, that, and the other. So different areas of the yard for different purposes to try to sort of mimic their natural environment. Dark Star kind of hit the nail on the head right there with that comment. Tie cords, really good for mental health.
I like that name, by the way, Dark Star Game Farm. That's pretty wicked.
It's
That's
pretty
a cool name.
It's pretty cool.
What'd he say? He said tie cords good for mental. Oh yeah, absolutely. Tie cords just help them. Tie cords is really natural. They just kind of hang out, and just kind of reset and gather themselves and loosen up and just really relax. They ain't got a lot going on unless there's pullets running around, and they really enjoy tie cords. But you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just a place for them to gather themselves. I feel like eat grass and just be chickens. I use that for rest. That's how I rest them. I just put them on tie cords for a few days and let them chill out.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to do. It kind of restores their natural cycle, I believe, where they're not being challenged and there's not really any activity distracting them. They're just kind of a product of their environment, I guess, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Right. He said Grateful Dead inspired. I love Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Touch of Grey. Yes, sir.
So
let's see if we got any other comments we've missed. Swimming will work on more. Swimming. Okay, that's a cool one. Actually, Joe Max Skinner, I went to his house and we've talked a lot. And he actually does swim his chickens. I've seen videos of him actually making them swim. We should have touched on that. I've never actually, I don't know anything about swimming. I don't know.
I've seen clips online. It's specifically like a lot of the guys in the Middle East swimming ASILs. And I mean, definitely with their garments and stuff that they have on, they're certainly Middle Eastern fellows.
Right.
I've seen them swim them in some current that I wouldn't throw a chicken in. It's like, okay, he's either going to be, working pretty hard or he's gone. So
what better way? What better way to make him work than work for his life, right?
I mean, if it's a life or death, hey, you know, it's kind of like the uncle that was always the fun uncle. It's like, you learn how to swim yet? Nope. Okay. Poof, right in the pool.
That's a way to take the laziness out of them too, isn't it,
Right.
Nancy? You can be
There's-
lazy, but you're going to end up down the current.
There's no motivator like necessity. If you need to live, you will try to find a way. He said they swim a lot in Jamaica too with the Spanish tide foul. I believe that wholeheartedly. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool aspect that you don't see a lot here in the States, but other countries are doing this.
Let's see. David Lamb said duck for sure. Yep, that's
Yes, sir.
see, somebody said in the desert. What they say? Yo, you got to add moisture. That's true.
Chicken Chad said, I'm finally here after a long day. Well, it's good to see you pop in here at the tail end, old buddy. Good to see you.
Yeah,
Thanks for the support. Thanks, everybody. Again, one more time before we work on our outro here. This episode, like all the other previous episodes, is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel.
Chicken Chatter 247. Just go on there on YouTube. Go on there on YouTube. Give us a follow and a like, and this whole episode will be there. So if you missed it, it's on there. I'll show the aftermath. We took tallies. So for bench work, we had 3 people that were strictly bench. For both, we had 5, 10, 15, 20. And for strictly rotation, we had 10. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know what I did. That might be 11. I think it is actually 11. So yeah, most people was more both. They leaned heavy towards rotation, and a few people were strictly rotation. Not many people were only bench, but there was a few. And this is our YouTube channel, Chicken Chatter 247.
That's right, fellers. That is the channel right there. You'll see this here Chicken Chatter logo, so it's kind of hard to mistake. You can find all the past episodes there, and this one will be uploaded as well later in the week. What do you do to prevent mites? There's several different things you can do to prevent mites. Spraying your pins with, an insecticide like permethrin. I like to use permethrin. It works really well for me. You can treat your fowl directly. Chili uses different products. I know he tried that stem. He really liked the results from that. And
I love stem.
Adam's Flea and Tick has been another go-to for plenty of game fowl owners in the past. 1 shot under each wing, 1 shot around the vent, and 1 shot under the neck feathers, right on the back, the skin of the neck. On the skin of the neck.
Here's what I use. This is my go-to. So I'll just keep it up here.
There it is.
I use the old Adams Flea and Tick Plus, or I'll go for $8 at the Dollar General. Works good. Stem kills ants, roaches, and flies. Check out my page on my TikTok. Yeah, I use either one. I just whichever one I grab first. Yeah, they both work fine.
Yes, sir. So it's been a great episode. We touched on a lot of different topics related to this one and everything, and I think we were able to get people's opinions in here, and we covered it really well, and we had fun doing it. As it is with every episode, at the end of the episode, we like to end things on a note with a prayer. If that's something you'd like to hang around for, you would be more than welcome. And if it's not your thing, that's okay. We love you anyway, and we appreciate all the support and everything from you fellas. And Mr. Chili, you want to do us the honors this week and lead us out in prayer?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Thank you, Lord Jesus, for another great week. Thank you for everything you've done for us, God. Lord, thank you for everybody that's watched with us, God, Lord. And thank you for all the guys that's watched us. please go with them this week and please bless them, protect them throughout this work week, and just make sure that all their needs are met. Thank you, Lord. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I got a bulldog that's got out of his crate, so I'm going to have to hop up here. I raise English bulldogs. Yeah, I'm coming. Yep, I raise English bulldogs too, guys, and I'm telling you, you think a rooster's hard to handle, you should get English bulldogs. So he's jumped out of his crate, so I got to hop off here. But guys, we appreciate every one of you. We can't wait to see you the Sunday after next with another great topic. It's going to be great. I pray the Lord blesses every one of you. And yeah, it's been a good show.
Yes, sir. It's been a great one. We appreciate each and every one of you that stopped by to support the show and interact with us and everything of that nature. And we appreciate you taking your time out of your day to hang out with folks like us and so on. And we enjoy it. We enjoy doing what we do. We enjoy the interactions. And like Chili said, we certainly appreciate each and every one of you. God bless you all. God bless your families. And we pray for, good times in the near future for each and every one of you. We hope to see you again in a couple of weeks when we come back with another topic. Watch for the promo. And you guys, take it easy. Mr. Chili, thank you for your time. It's great to see you here.
Yes,
All of y'all
absolutely.
Take care.
All righty. See you guys.
Y'all take it easy.